Hello, everyone, and welcome back to Politics Now. We're talking about modern politics in modern America. And today, we're going to be discussing the Louisiana gubernatorial election and why that might be a sign for the coming 2024 elections. So, yeah, let's get into that. So, it was a pretty dang good night for Republicans in Louisiana. They defied all expectations and they knocked it out of the park. It's even beyond like extremely good or record breaking levels. No, it's beyond that. Their Democrat the Democrats, their candidate got 25% of the vote. When Democrats had the governorship and last election they got 51% of the votes. And even looking at the map, Democrats, they only won 4 regions of Louisiana. And a lot of those regions, 3 of them, were pretty competitive for the Democrats, and they barely won them. Really, it was only the New Orleans area that was more Democratic. But even then, a majority of that area went to the Republicans and Jeff Landry. And this is a astonishing result because he won areas that were seemed to be way out of Republicans' league. He won Baton Rouge. He won a lot of these states along the Mississippi. He won a lot of these states in New Orleans even. And he won a ton of these states which were probably going to go Democrat, but Republicans knocked them out of the park and won overwhelming majority of the vote. I mean, if you're winning almost 75% of the vote in a gubernatorial election when your opposition party has already won the previous election, that is not only a landslide, but that is like if a president wins almost all the states except one or two. That's the level of landslide we're dealing with. And this kind of turnout and this kind of election is very telling for 2024 because it proves 2 things. One, Trump endorsing a candidate doesn't immediately mean that they're going to lose. And tying Trump to a candidate or Trump running himself doesn't make them unelectable. And Jeff Landry definitely proved that by winning 51% of the vote while his opponent only won 25%. And that really proves that I mean, Trump endorsing a candidate isn't going to immediately kill them. Candidate quality is definitely going to factor into that. It just so happens that a lot of the Trump endorsements, air quotes, they either had pretty much no chance or they were extremely bad candidates that he probably shouldn't have endorsed. Jeff Landry was a good candidate, and Trump endorsed him, which definitely helped him with a lot of the Trump voters in Louisiana. So he got a massive victory. And second, if you get record high voter turnout for the Republicans and you chase those voters and get them to vote and don't just sit there and let the Democrats dominate their voter turnout, you will get incredible results because Jeff Landry ran a masterful campaign where he essentially did the closest to ballot harvesting that Louisiana would allow. He was out there getting all of the votes for the Republicans. He would go to pretty much anywhere just to get votes. And the Democrats, they thought they were in a safe position because 2019 it was a relatively tight election, but the Democrats still won. And they won a lot of these counties, which they definitely didn't win in 2023. 2023, the Republicans flipped a lot of these counties. And the Republicans ran a pretty weak candidate who honestly really didn't have the chops to actually run an effective campaign. And because of that, he lost. And it was also partially because of the runoff, because Republicans don't do that well with runoffs. And we weren't even close to a runoff in 2023. A lot of people, they were predicting, including myself, that Louisiana was going to probably be a lot closer and it might even go on to a runoff. No one was really expecting that he was going to win by 25 points, which that is insane. That just shows that Trump endorsing a candidate isn't going to immediately going to kill their campaign. In fact, it will even boost their campaign. And also, you need to chase those Republican voters if you are ever going to win an election, and especially if you want to win by a decent margin. So, now that we've learned from Louisiana what ballot harvesting and ballot chasing does for Republicans, and Trump endorsing a candidate, especially how that doesn't really affect them, and in fact, it even improves their campaign, we need to focus on all the other gubernatorial elections and 2024 because there are still some more gubernatorial elections in 2023. And the most important one is going to be Kentucky. Kentucky is a plus 16 red state, but they voted in a Democrat because he had the last name of a more moderate Democrat governor that a lot of people there liked. And of course, he's nothing like his father, so really he's in a lot weaker position than when he was first elected because he pretty much coasted off his last name and he really wasn't able to do pretty much anything that he actually wants to do because the Republicans don't let him do pretty much anything, which might actually help him. But if you are running a effective candidate who can get all those votes in ballot harvest to the limit of the state laws, then you are probably going to unseat Andy Beshear, and you could probably win that governorship and get another Republican governor in a deep Republican state because even places like Kansas, those are deep Republican states, yet they have Democratic governors. So if we have all these Democratic governors in deep Republican states, you're clearly needing to actually work on your campaign because if somebody who is pushing far left agendas in a Trump plus 16 state is elected, that really shows that you need to run better candidates and you need to run a more effective campaign because Democrats, they're going to be in a fairly good position for Kentucky. Louisiana, they thought they were in a good position, but it turns out, yeah, they were not. And Louisiana is a lot less Republican than Kentucky, so Republicans should have an even better chance, but they don't, which they need to work extra hard to win that Kentucky seat. And they probably need to work a lot harder than Louisiana, like tenfold, if they want double the margins of your opposition who's a Democrat. If you want to get that, you are going to have a miracle because Louisiana, it was a miracle that he got that margin and the Democrats lost so hard there. So Kentucky, we're going to need to focus on because if you want similar results like Louisiana, then you are going to need to have record high turnout and you're going to need to run an effective candidate, which you already got one of them. You got a pretty effective candidate running in Kentucky, which is Daniel Cameron, and he is calling for ballot harvesting and he is calling for running a campaign of chasing those voters and getting them out to vote because Andy Beshear, he is relatively liked because, I mean, he hasn't been able to do anything because the Republican Congress and Senate there, they pretty much just stop him from doing anything. So, I mean, he hasn't really done anything offensive because, Republicans just stop him from doing anything. So, he is definitely in a better situation than a lot of these other Democrat governors of deep Republican states, where he pretty much has done nothing, so he doesn't really need to worry about people criticizing his record because he has no record, but you still want to get him out of there because you can definitely pass a lot more in Kentucky if you have a Republican governor, which Daniel Cameron is probably the best case for Republicans taking back Kentucky because if you run an unpopular candidate and you decide to not chase voters, well, you're definitely not getting Louisiana. You're getting a Kentucky in 2019. That's what you're going to get, and that is what's going to happen. And Republicans, they also need to learn this for 2024 because if you do not ballot harvest in the states that allow it and try and chase those voters just like the Democrats, you are never going to win another election because Democrats, they are playing the game and they are playing it well. Republicans, they need to play by the rules if they are ever hoping to change them. Because as long as Democrats keep winning elections, you're never going to change the rules. And as long as Republicans keep losing, you're also never going to change the rules. So when it comes to the general election, that's even more of a significant election because if you ballot harvest and chase those voters, you could have a landslide victory for Donald Trump. And that would be the ultimate blow to Joe Biden and the Democrats if Trump got a record high landslide victory, even better than 2016, which, I mean, that could be considered a landslide victory. But, I mean, a landslide victory for 2024 would be huge. And if you learn from Louisiana, you definitely have a lot of a better chance to get that landslide victory that you want. So, Louisiana, it wasn't really a shock, but it also kind of was a shock that he won by so much. I mean, most people they said that he was probably going to win it, but not by that much, but they really didn't expect that he was going to win by 25 points. That is still crazy, but yeah. If you think that Louisiana will stay Republican after this election and maybe a new Republican or Jeff Landry might actually win by the same amount in later elections, but yeah, if you think Democrats could possibly win the next election, which, I mean, they're probably in a really weak position right now, and their party isn't exactly the most competent. Leave them in the comments below, and yeah, I'll see you guys next time. Bye.